Hello, hello.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us. We're going to be waiting for people to join us. Feel free to comment where you're watching from. And if you're watching the replay, do hashtag replay and where you're joining us from.
Yes. And tonight's topic is mastering macros. And like you said, thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. We're very, very excited about tonight's topic. Welcome, Kay from Iowa. Thank you for joining us. Michigan, Linda, always glad to have you. Yes.
We got Oregon and Ohio.
In upstate New York. In Hawaii. Ooh. And as always, this will also be available as a podcast via Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So feel free to keep an eye on this for later.
We have some people from Canada.
Ooh. Several, actually. Welcome, welcome. Welcome back for all of our usuals and also anybody who's new. Feel free to drop a hi and introduce yourselves. We're the Conways, Courtney and Chris. Yes. Also, if you have any topics you'd like for us to talk about, feel free to drop a comment, or if you have any questions, we'll do our best to keep an eye on the comments live. Though sometimes they're a little delayed, and they can be a little distracting sometimes, and I can get lost. But I do try to keep an eye on the comments and comment after the fact as well. So don't worry if we don't get to your question right away, or we don't comment on there right away. We'll try to answer them as quickly as possible. Yes. It is a happy Tuesday. Nice and mild down here in Alabama.
Mild being 80 degrees.
Well, mild in comparison to what it's going to be this weekend. That feels like temperature is going to be in the 100s. So,
Yay.
not a fan of that. Plus all the humidity.
Yeah.
So hopefully the weather is mild and comfortable where everyone else is at.
Okay, let's
All
get
right.
started. Yes. Mastering macros.
Absolutely. So we're going to be talking about kind of finding your allies in fats and carbs and proteins and kind of differentiating between some of the more healthier items. So I think we're very, very excited for this.
Yes, and like Chris just said, if you don't know what macros are, because some people just don't, it is your fats, carbs, and proteins, and that makes up your calories.
Mm-hmm.
And your calories is, in essence, what's going to help you to lose weight.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So no matter what plan you're on, it's always a good idea to keep an eye on your macros. And we've mentioned that we're on the Better Balance plan, and we really absolutely love the Better Balance plan, but we do like to keep an eye on the macros just to make sure that we're having a healthy balance and keeping track, and that has helped us in our journey as well. And having an idea for the macros that are in your meals and your snacks and food in general can really give you a good broader idea of what makes these plans helpful and beneficial for you.
Yes, when I was doing macros, just macros, on the calorie plan, I did that briefly. I love my Better Balance. I've talked about that. But when I was doing just macros, I would actually plan my day out to make sure I was hitting those macros. So like literally in the morning, like I would be like, okay, my snack's going to be this, my dinner's going to be this, my lunch is going to be this. And I planned my day out to make sure I had those macros and to make sure I had enough carbs and fats and proteins. Because sometimes when you're trying to eat healthy, it is hard to hit your fats and your carbs. Proteins, sometimes not that hard, but fats especially, it can be hard.
Absolutely. And we've also mentioned in previous podcasts about restrictive eating, and we don't like to take anything off the table. So we do like to be able to include everything, but there are certainly some things to keep in mind when you're planning your day, and there are some kinds of macros that are important to manage, and some that are absolute must to include in your diet. So it always goes back to our meal prepping and planning, we always are advocates for that. Even if you don't prep, plan. Meal plan is very, very important.
Yes.
So we wanted to put a disclaimer out here that we're not dietitians, but we have done a lot of research and we've had a lot of success in our journey. And thanks in part to this knowledge that we have, and how macros work, and
Yes.
that helped us with our success.
I honestly didn't have as much success until I learned about macros and how they work. And like I said, even being on the Better Balance plan,
Mhm.
I do keep track of my macros because now that I know how they work and what they work for and how they benefit you, I want to make sure I am getting what I need to be getting in my day.
Absolutely. So one of the first ones we want to talk about are carbs, and there are so many people out there that think carbs are bad, and there are lots of diets out there that completely restrict carbs. Now, not to say that some of those diets are bad.
Mm-hmm.
We do have some carb conscious plans and a keto plan as well. So do what works best for you and your body. But for me and Courtney, we do know that the carbs help give us energy, and we personally want to make sure we have enough energy in our day, and that's what works really best for us too.
Yes. And like you said, there are some people that just are not able to have carbs because of the way their body processes. I know after some of the weight loss surgeries, your body just doesn't process
Mm.
carbs. So, like, please don't think anything we're saying means, oh my goodness, I have to go eat all my carbs. No. Like, I have a friend, she's only allowed to have like 60 carbs a day
Mhm,
because her body literally cannot process more than that.
mhm,
And that's okay. Do what you have to do for your body. Like you said, we are not dietitians,
mhm.
but yes. So if
Yeah, exactly. And it's one of those things that we want to be mindful of, not having too many, but not having too few, unless of course you're on that
yes,
plan. And one of the important things about carbs is there are some carbs that are better for you, and you can make those carbs work for you. And generally speaking, carbs that are in vegetables, full grain breads, oats, and are some things that people call slow carbs, slow release carbs. They take longer for your body to digest, which helps you stay fuller longer. And sometimes, even though it's a few calories, it might actually help you burn a few more calories because your body digesting food takes calories.
yes, one thing we like to do before we're going to work out is we like to get some of those slow release carbs because it's going to be fueling us during our
Mhm,
workout. It's going to be throughout that whole workout. It's going to be fueling us. So if
mhm,
if you need energy and like pre-workout and stuff doesn't help, surprisingly carbs, like just eating some carbs before your workout
mhm.
is going to help you get that energy that you need.
Especially the slow release carbs. So if you have a
Mhm.
granola bar, that'll give you kind of lasting energy, and also those slow release carbs help your blood sugar from spiking. I know we are um,
Have
a
insulin
little bit of
resistance.
insulin resistance, but there are those out there that are also diabetic, type 1 and type 2. So the slow release carbs will help minimize your sugar spike. Did want to recommend or mention that we had a first timer, Amanda. Thank you for joining us from Ohio. And then Amanda also mentioned that complex carbs are good for before workouts, exactly, and protein for afterwards. So
Yes.
protein will help build your muscles back that you've kind of broken down, which is a good thing. But the complex carbs, that's another term for what I was referring to as the kind of the slow release carbs. But complex carbs are harder to break down, so really, really good. We love them. And if you plan these carbs wisely, it can help your meal last longer and help minimize you eat things like whole grain breads and brown rice, brown pastas, oats, quinoa, which is a really fun word to say, and some vegetables. And a recipe we shared last week was the yogurt bowl.
And we do like to add oatmeal to it in the morning. That slow release
Mhm,
carb is going to help us throughout the morning.
mhm,
It's going to be released slower. We're going to stay fuller. Not only that, but the protein and stuff in it as well. So definitely adding some carbs to your protein, some slow release
mhm.
carbs, will also help you stay full longer.
Yes, it gives us that energy, that boost that we need to kind of get our day started and gets us through to our lunch. So it's a really, really good way to add a little bit more slow release anything. And
Hmm.
if you're anything like me, I don't particularly like some of those foods. I don't really
Like the
like
brown rice
the
and
brown
stuff.
rice or the whole wheat pasta, which some people like, and we
I don't
do
mind it.
incorporate those in there sometimes. But since I don't care for those as much, I do like having the regular pasta. But as we've talked about in our restrictive eating, we don't want to restrict too much, and anything in moderation is going to be good. So as long as I plan out my meals,
And watch your portion sizes of them,
hmm
because that's one thing before. Like we were eating a ton of it, and we're not
hmm
paying attention to the portion sizes. Now we are.
hmm
So even a carb that you feel like you shouldn't have, watch your portion sizes and just have a smaller portion of it, and you'll be fine.
Absolutely. Um, and so just keep in mind the portion controls you can and make it fit within your day. We've talked about in our meal planning podcast to plan your day. If you want your higher carb meal or your treat or your or anything that is not easier to have or fit within your day, plan around it. So make sure you're able to work it in.
Yes, because like I have mentioned all the time,
Mm-hmm.
I love my sugar.
Mm-hmm.
I love sweet stuff. It's just something that, like, if I don't have it, I'm going to binge on it. So I let myself have it. But with that, you do need to watch your sugars.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is something that's going to make your blood spike. You're going to feel lousy. You're going to have that slump afterwards. It is not one of those carbs that's going to keep you going longer. You're going to have a crash. And
Yep.
I mean, that's why I do try, if I'm going to have some sort of sugar, I do try to have it at night, because then I'm going to go to sleep and I'm not going to have that crash.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely be careful with your sugars.
Absolutely, especially if you're a pre-diabetic or diabetic or have some insulin resistance, you want to be careful with that.
Yes, and we are definitely not telling you not to have it, because I love sugar.
Absolutely,
It's definitely he's not like that. I am.
not as much. I'm more of the pasta and chip kind of guy.
Yes, but just watch your portions, and just pay attention to how you feel afterwards, because you might have that little sugar crash, especially if you had too much.
Absolutely, and it's kind of a crazy balance. We mentioned before that if you have too much of it, you go overboard, then you have the spikes. But if you don't allow yourself to have enough of it, you might have a tendency to binge on it and go overboard there. So kind of ride that line and have just enough of your sweets, the things that you crave, so that you are able to sustain yourself, enjoy yourself, and not deprive yourself too much.
Yes.
And the next macro we want to talk about is actually probably the most important macro, and that's protein.
We love protein. We love protein. Your body needs protein. It helps you to build and maintain muscles and keep your body healthy. Protein is extremely essential.
Absolutely. And having a good lean protein can have some of the same effects as the complex or slow release carbs. It can help you feel more satisfied and keep you full longer. It's also very important when you're weight training. As Amanda mentioned, after you work out, especially if you're weight training, your muscles tear, which is a good thing, and then adding that protein will help build them back up and make them stronger, and that's how you build the muscle. So in Courtney's weight training, which is probably 70 or 80% of the time, it's very important to have some sort of protein in her diet in general also, but afterwards.
Yes, I'm very, very mindful of my protein when I'm weight training, because I know how essential it is. I can tell, like, my workouts struggle. Like, I'm more sore afterwards. It just, my workouts struggle if I've not had that protein in my day. So definitely, if you're not just weight training, but exercising in general, like, protein is going to be so important. If you don't have enough protein, you're not going to build that muscle. It's just not going to happen. So definitely make sure, especially if you're trying to build muscle, that you're getting your protein in.
Yes. And so our preferred lean proteins are boneless, skinless, chicken breast, shrimp, a lean pork or a lean ground beef. We probably don't use that as much. Or any other kind of lean meat. We also do sometimes ground turkey. Going back into our meal planning, we do what's on sale and we make it fit within our diet. We plan the sides around it because the meats tend to be a little bit more expensive sometimes.
Yes, and there's also a lot of protein sources if you're vegetarian or something of that nature, like beans, and there are quite a few, because I know a lot of what we mentioned was meats, but there's also a lot of options for vegetarians or vegans as well.
Absolutely. So do some research and make sure you're getting enough protein, and regardless of whether what kind of dietary requirements you have to have.
Yeah. And when I was pregnant with Kathleen, I actually had gestational diabetes. And with that, they gave me a nutritionalist, and to like balance my carbs and stuff, because I had to watch my carbs because of the gestational diabetes. They said to keep a 2-to-1 ratio, 1 protein for every 2 carbs. Like 1 gram for every 2 grams of carbs. And they said that would balance it. It would help keep me from spiking, and it really did help. Like I once I found out I had gestational diabetes, I didn't have very much sweets and stuff.
Mhm.
But when I did, I made sure I had that protein with it.
Mhm.
And it really did help the spikes. So if you're somebody that has like sugar spikes, diabetes, make sure protein is very, very, very important
Mhm.
because it's going to help you to not have that big sugar spike.
The way I understand it, and the way I read it is having the protein adds complexity to what you're eating, and helps you process it slower. Somebody on Instagram mentioned tofu. That's a really good source of protein. I'm not sure if I had much of that,
I have.
but there's lots
It
of
was pretty
really,
good.
really fun and creative cooking methods to make
Hmm.
sure that your the tofu and your vegetarian options taste just as good, if not better, than some of the
Yes, I've
meat
actually had
options.
tofu, and it was actually very good. I was surprised.
Mhm. Absolutely. And so we even now that Courtney is past that, we do try to keep that ratio in mind. There is kind of a ratio that is recommended for your macros for losing weight. They like to have a I think it's 20 to 30% of carbs, 40 to 50% protein, and then 30 to 40% of the healthy fats. And you can kind of mix that in to
Hmm.
make it to be 100%. But back when Courtney was just doing macros, she'd have that set balance, and she tried
Hmm.
to make her percentages fit
I would
throughout
literally
her day.
like plan my day to like almost the grams I needed, and I mean, it was actually kind of fun.
Hmm.
But like
There's some math involved.
yeah, there was math involved, but like if I needed an extra few grams of fat, I would just add a little cheese to my food. If I needed a few extra grams of carbs, I would add, I'd have an extra bowl of protein. I mean of oatmeal. Like it was actually kind of fun.
Hmm.
So it's definitely doable.
We find that on days that we don't have as much protein, we notice it because we're not full as long, and we're just constantly
Yes.
trying to eat.
And if I don't have my protein, I'm always like I'm just wanting to eat all the time. I'm like, why am I so hungry? And it's because I didn't have that protein to keep me full longer.
Hmm.
So it's
I mean,
definitely something to keep an eye on.
exactly. So if so on that mark, we try to keep at least one good source of protein in each meal, sometimes more. The yogurt bowl that we make
Hmm.
and we shared last week has protein in the yogurt and protein in the cottage cheese, so that has two sources in it. When we do our breakfast sandwiches, we like to have eggs along with cottage cheese in there, along with probably some sort of lean meat. Sometimes we do blackened chicken, so there's lots of protein in that sandwich. So there's lots of ways you can add more protein in things. You can add cottage cheese if you like cottage cheese. There are some vegetables like hummus and other types of things, or tofu, that you can add in
Hmm.
to complement, just to try to get as much. So we'll even add cottage cheese to scrambled eggs, to our casseroles that have eggs, to add more stuff to it. So, and also Courtney did this when she was doing the plans. Is if she met her protein goal, she almost all the time hit all the other goals, all the other macros, that the carbs and the fats were within the
Yes,
ratios.
that's one thing I've learned even now. If I'm hitting my protein goal, and typically your protein goal is going to be more than you think it would be,
Mm-hmm.
typically everything else falls in line. And I part of me wonders if that's because I'm staying satisfied, so I'm not snacking on
Mm-hmm.
everything. But or maybe it's because with the protein I'm making healthier choices. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But when I hit my protein goal, I'm typically hitting everything else like around where it should be.
Absolutely. So now on to fats, and this is one where diet culture has a tendency to make you feel like it's all bad.
When I did start macros, I found out that I was not eating anywhere near the fats
Mm-hmm.
I should be eating because everything we bought fat-free cheese, fat-free cottage cheese, fat-free. I mean, everything was fat-free because I just thought that's what we should have been eating.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, some of those things are great. I still buy like fat-free whipped cream.
Mm-hmm.
We buy fat-free cottage cheese sometimes. We don't buy fat-free cheese because we just like the full fat stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I forgot where I was going with my
Well, there
thought.
are healthy fats that you need,
That's where I was
and
going with
to
my
go
thought.
along that, kind of earlier on in our weight loss journey, I went to the doctor and had a blood test, and found out that I was pretty low in my healthy fats because I
Mhm.
was trying to restrict all kinds of fats, and my doctor said you need to have a little bit more healthy fats, and so we did a little bit more research. So the American Heart Association has a lot of good recommendations for healthy fats. So some examples are some non-fried fish, such as albacore tuna, herring, lake trout, mackerel, sardines, salmons. They all have omega-3 fatty acids and can give you some of that
Mhm.
healthy fat, and they're tasty, especially if you know how to cook them. And another one of the healthy fats they recommend are some oils. So you can do avocado oil, peanut oil, canola, corn, grapeseed, those types of things.
Mhm. And when we first started, we didn't cook with any oils.
Mhm.
We didn't. I mean, we just kind of thought they were off limits, and that's just something diet culture has taught us.
Mhm.
But now, like we use them, they make things taste better.
Mhm.
They help keep your stuff from sticking. So, and I mean, I'm not saying we like drench everything in
No,
oil or
still
fry it,
very
but
minimal,
it's
but
yeah,
yeah,
it's
we
very
used to not
minimal.
use it at all, and now we do use some of it, and that adds some of the healthy
Mhm.
fats.
Another thing that's really good in healthy fats is nuts.
Mhm.
I know Chris loves.
Yes, I love. I had a tendency to before like a lot of the salted nuts, but that adds a little bit too much sodium. But I have gotten used to the unsalted ones. So unsalted, think almonds, pecans, pistachios, pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, all those. We have a big bag of unsalted almonds in the pantry, and I'll just go grab a handful of those, and those really kind of help get me if I'm feeling like I'm struggling a little bit in between
Mhm.
my planned snacks and in between my planned meals. It is something really good to snack on, so that's really good. And one of Courtney's least favorite things. Oops, hold on. Yes, nuts. But yes, I have a tendency to go overboard on them too, Amanda. I have to portion them out. I have to
Mhm.
leave the container in the kitchen, and only grab what I need.
Mhm.
And I have
Also, those
to,
little they make little
yes,
individual bags that are really good, but also watch those because Chris picked one up the other day. I mean, it was small, it was tiny, and it was almost 400
yeah.
calories.
So,
But they do make some individual ones that are very reasonable.
yeah, the unsalted ones, generally speaking, are going to be a lot healthier. The ones that have salt and sodium and lots of flavorings have a tendency to have a lot of added stuff to it. But another source of healthy fats that the AHA recommends is avocado.
Avocado.
And she's not shy that she
I
hates
don't like
avocado.
avocado at all, except for just like I can eat it in sushi. But other than that, nope, nope, nope.
I love avocado, although I'm not really the best at picking the best avocado from the store. But I love it on sandwiches, salads, and tacos, and it's a really good source of healthy
It's a very
fats.
good source.
I got lots of fibers and essential vitamins and minerals, so that's something that's really good. I like to have it on my nachos. So lots of really good stuff.
Mhm.
Guacamole, having a healthier version of that, mixing with some tomatoes and other seasonings is really
Mhm.
good. Apparently, BJ sells individual bags of almonds that are really good.
We'll have to look next
And
time we're
we
there.
just got a BJ's that opened not too far from us. So, and we have a membership, so we'll have to take a look at
Yeah.
those. So, thank you for that suggestion on Instagram. So great. So we will keep an eye on that. So any of those, but just make sure that you're getting the unsalted ones. So, and Linda also loves avocado, so you're with me there.
I'm very picky. You will learn. I am actually pretty picky. I got that from my mom.
Hmm.
I did.
Yeah. Too bad she's not watching this. And then the last part of the piece is calories, and I know that calories is kind of all of the other ones as a whole.
It's your fats, carbs, and proteins make up your calories.
Hmm. And so at the end of the day, what matters the most is having a calorie deficit and making sure so you can lose weight. Managing the macros just helps you
Mhm.
feel better, helps you gain muscle, it helps you have just the right amount of fat, and it just makes you get through your day.
Yes, I heard someone say once that you can eat donuts all day, but if you're in a calorie deficit with those donuts, you're going to lose weight, and they're probably not wrong.
Mm.
But you're not going to feel the best. You're not going to be you're probably not going to be building muscle like you should.
Not getting the nutrients you
So
need.
yeah. So with that, just because you're in a calorie deficit doesn't mean you're automatically eating the things you should, and that's where all of these macros come into play.
Absolutely. So you want to make sure that and that's another thing that we talked about the other week is making sure you eat enough. So calories is kind of a good idea of making sure. Um, the eggs can have healthier fats, but they have a little bit. They're higher in cholesterol, especially the yolks.
Yes, so definitely keep an eye on that.
Yeah, so we have a tendency sometimes to do if we'll do a couple eggs, we might take away one or two of the yolks and have the egg whites. But they are healthier than some, but you definitely don't want to have too much
Yes,
cholesterol in
because of
them.
the cholesterol. Yes.
Absolutely. And then another thing is I prefer to eat my calories. I love some tasty drinks like a good coffee with all the cream and even sugar free, but with cream. I love chocolate milk, which is also very healthy, but they have lots of calories, lots of carbs,
Mhm.
lots of sugars, and you're not going to be full. You might get full for maybe 5 or 10 minutes sometimes, but I find myself really hungry afterwards if I've drank 500 calories.
Yes, I was shocked when I
Yes.
found out how many calories was in one of my Starbucks drinks I used to get.
Hmm.
Shocked. Same with Dunkin'. There's a Dunkin' drink that's like literally 1,000 calories. I was shocked.
Hmm.
You'd be shocked. Like when you just go up to the coffee shop and you're like, "Hey, I want a caramel macchiato." You'd be shocked how many calories is in that thing. And like Chris said, I try to eat my calories instead of
Hmm.
drinking them because it's going to be mostly more beneficial for me.
Hmm.
So definitely watch that. Just watch how many calories you're
Yeah.
drinking.
I think they call it empty calories. But even if you have some nutritionist stuff, like you can make a smoothie with all kinds of really good things. But for me, anything in liquid form has a tendency to not satisfy me for
Mhm.
long. So you can have one of those, and and the macros are pretty good for you. But do what sustains your body. And
Yes,
generally speaking, those don't always. Now, if that's something that helps you with your sweet tooth, by all means do that
yes,
because you're getting some of
for
your
sure.
healthy fruits, and sometimes you can sneak
Hmm.
in some veggies. So just definitely do that. And then Amanda likes to use Premier protein shakes in her coffee, and
Yes,
that is a really good. We
that is
do
a really good idea.
love that.
Yes.
It kind of makes you feel like you're having an unhealthy coffee without actually having that.
That's good. Someone said that they take their morning pills with chocolate milk, but they don't like calories, so they just use chocolate almond milk for only 50 calories. And chocolate almond milk is
Very
surprisingly pretty
good.
good.
Yes, we quite enjoy that. So that's a trait that we have. But you can do something like that. Even if you do the regular taco milk, have that as your treat. Do like a quarter of a cup to take your medicine, and then that's your treat. The treat for the morning. Anything in moderation. But yes, the chocolate almond milk is very good. Now we're kind of running a
Yes.
little bit on late on
We
time.
talked a lot about this one.
We actually were worried that we were going to not be able to get a full 25 minutes or so out of this. So now let's try to see if we can squeeze in our recipe of the week.
Yes, like always, this will be on Healthy's page. So if I talk too fast, I'm sorry. It will be there, I promise. This week's recipe is something that we love. It's an actual meal, and this is egg roll in a bowl. I've seen it go around. This is our own little take on it. There's lots of different takes on it,
Hmm.
but you're gonna need coleslaw mix. I usually just grab a whole bag. I think the bag that we get is normally 4 cups.
Hmm.
Ground chicken or any meat you want.
Hmm.
A pound of that, eggs, 2 eggs, 3 tablespoons of soy sauce and 3 tablespoons of teriyaki or whatever kind of like sauce that you like in your egg rolls.
Hmm.
So first things first, you're gonna cook your ground chicken with
Hmm.
any seasonings that you want for that. I typically don't add seasonings to my recipes because I know everybody's taste is different. So whatever seasonings you want for your ground chicken, just cook it in a pan until it's done. Add the coleslaw mix and cook until the coleslaw is soft.
Hmm.
Then you're going to add your eggs and scramble those until they're set. Like I said, it's pretty easy. And then you're going to add in your teriyaki and soy sauce and mix everything until it's combined. And that's that. It makes 4 servings. Um,
It is a let's see, 1 to 4 bites depending on the plan you're on, and it's 196 calories and 7 net carbs.
yes.
And we've changed out the protein several times
Yes, we've
too.
used shrimp, we've used diced chicken, we've even used ground beef. Like it's great. Also, one
And
thing
pork.
we have done before is we've added a package of ramen, like without the seasoning to
Yes, the
it.
noodles.
Because it is only 190 something calories.
Hmm.
It's something very light if you need, like if you want to indulge in something
Hmm.
later. It is lower in calories, but it is delicious, easy, quick. Like,
You can add some rice to it.
yep.
So you can have your brown rice, some quinoa, add
Yes,
some of that
but
into
we
there.
absolutely love it.
Yes, it's very, very filling, very easy. Good to prep. I also sometimes we try this for the first time. Instead of the bag of coleslaw, we just did the bag of plain shredded cabbage because that doesn't have the purple cabbage or the carrots in there,
Hmm.
which I don't always like those. I don't hate them when they're cooked in and they're mixing with other things, but it was nice trying that with just a
Yeah.
bag of cabbage. So you can mix it up and make it your own.
Hmm.
On this recipe that I have on your screen, I did leave off the eggs on accident, but the full recipe will be posted to the healthy page sometime tomorrow as well.
Yes.
So as always, we thank you so much for joining us. We thank you for bringing us on your journey and supporting us and all that we do. We're here to support you as well. So feel free to share any of your wins that you have. We've had keep an eye on the healthy page. We've had several really good posts of some people with really good losses, loss to success. We love celebrating other people's success. So feel free to share yours as well. So thank you for joining us, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.